I just got a book that I paid $1,000 for, and I actually want to share it with you because I'm really excited. So I have a lot of stuff to cover in a very short period of time, so let's get to crack-a-lackin'. Okay, so you're probably wondering, well, Monica, what would you ever pay $1,000 for? Well, this is the book. It's called Hand of Destiny by Napoleon Hill. It's actually an unpublished copy that I got through Russell Brunson's, I think it's Secrets to Success that he has. And in order for you to actually be able to get this book, you actually have to spend a whole year's worth of subscription, which is $997 to be able to get this book as a bonus. And I am just a Napoleon Hill fanatic. In fact, this is Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, one of the biggest books that's ever been written on success on the planet. And some people have criticized him, and meaning that they've called him a grifter, basically saying that, you know, he just wrote a book about success, but he actually failed in a lot of businesses, which a lot of entrepreneurs do, believe it or not. No shocker there. But I look at Napoleon Hill differently because a lot of people don't know, and I read a lot of his works, is that Napoleon Hill himself, his whole dream was to become a successful writer. And they say that this book alone has sold over 100 million copies since 1937, and this is not his only this is not his only book. And so I would say that that would make him a highly successful author, don't you think? And that's basically the only thing he actually cared about, was becoming a highly successful motivational and success author. And so Think and Grow Rich was originally published in 1937 by the Ralston Society. And years ago, I actually discovered the 2 lost chapters of Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. It's a long story. I'm not going to get into it. But I was able to actually publish those 2 lost chapters in my own book called The Lost Secret that I wrote years ago. In fact, I actually did a PBS show called The Main Way to Wealth, and I talked about this book, The Lost Secret. And I actually will, in the very end of the book, word for word, you will actually get the 2 chapters that were stripped out of the original edition. As this was going to press by the Ralston Society in 1937, they actually stripped out the last 2 chapters. And so I'll just give you kind of the nitty-gritty of the last 2 chapters because I think that they're really important. The first is to disconnect yourself from all distraction. And I think that's most fitting today. I don't know about you, but I find myself picking up my phone all the time to just, you know, do what we call doom scrolling. And it's just needless waste of time stuff. I watch the news way too much, and I always tell my students disconnect from the news, but then I always find myself creeping, you know, a little news here and there just to be able to keep up on current events. And it's really a really good way of destroying your psyche. It's a really good way of destroying your emotional and mental state of being. And then it just allows you from creating and having opportunity. I remember when I was in high school, the classes I hated the most were chemistry and physics. I absolutely freaking hated those classes. I think I got like D's in both of them because I just didn't excel. But there was one word that always came up, especially in physics, that I really like, and it was the only thing I actually remember about physics class in high school at all. And this is this one word, and this one word only, which is potential. Potential. If you're in one of these situations where you feel like you are not getting very far in life. Maybe you're broke. Maybe you feel like you're destitute. Maybe you're just like, I just don't know where to turn. I don't know what to do. And I know that I'm not anywhere in life that I want to be. And I just feel so hopeless at this point because I don't know how to move forward. So one of the most powerful things in physics class is the word potential. If you think in terms of how people have it in other countries, like right now, if you were in, you know, any of those countries that are being bombed right now, or people that are starving to death. I remember being on a Disney cruise with my daughter years ago. It was a 10-day cruise. And you see all over the news at that point in time, all of these people who were refugees from different countries that would end up on a tiny little boat and would just basically go anywhere they could in Europe just to be able to survive. You know, and I remember watching that in the news, and you feel so disconnected when you watch things on the news. Well, I had taken my daughter on a 10-day cruise through the Mediterranean, and we saw one of those boats. And so according to maritime law, a ship has to stop if there's somebody that looks like they're distressed. And it looked like there was a bunch of people on this really tiny raft, and they literally had everything to their name, which was nothing more than a shirt on their back. And they were out in the middle of the water, like, I don't know, a couple hundred miles off the coast of Sicily. And so our ship had to wait there for several hours until the Coast Guard from Sicily can come out and rescue this boat. And it just gave me perspective in that moment where you think you have nothing until you see people that truly have nothing, right? So the very first thing that you need to do, if you're one of these people that just feels like you're just up against a wall and you just don't know where to move from this point forward, just realize that you have more than you think you have. You are further along than you think you are. And it just takes a matter of flipping the switch on your perspective and realizing that you have a lot to be grateful for. And it's that gratitude that will begin to give you the gifts that you need to excel forward. Even in the very least, to start giving you the gifts of these ideas and thoughts of inspiration to be able to move ahead with the next idea, the next business idea, the next investing idea, the next whatever it is you're supposed to be doing, just in the mere fact of just having that gratitude. And I know that a lot of people are like, oh, gratitude, like, you know, you go to Thanksgiving dinner and you sit there and talk about, you ramble off this list of all the things you're grateful for. It's like, no, it has to be deeper than that. You actually just have to feel a sense of gratitude that you have a roof over your head, that you have food to eat today, that you can actually pay your rent now, that you actually have a decent car that functions correctly. When you have a state of gratitude going at all times, even if you don't have the best car, you don't have the best apartment, you don't have the best whatever, the best job, just being grateful for what you have, because you have to think in terms of what other people just don't have. And they would kill to have what you have. And just to have a flip of the switch in the perspective will change everything for you. But it has to start there. You have to start there with that, just that change of perception of what it is. And then you have potential. At that point, the sky becomes the limit. And you can literally do anything. I mean, I'm thinking in terms of you being in a first world country, whether you're in the United States or Canada, wherever it is that you're watching this from. You have all of the benefits afforded to you to be able to change your entire life virtually overnight. And so if you're hanging on to these thoughts, these negative thoughts about where you are and where you're not, and where you think you should be, and just demeaning yourself or demeaning society because you're not as far along as you should be, you are not doing yourself a service at all. You're screwing yourself over, is basically what you're doing. So what do? Well, first start with that gratitude. Start meditating every day, even if it's for 5 minutes, just clearing the mind, closing your eyes, and just meditating. That in and of itself will start elevating your vibration. So let's talk about the second chapter that was stripped out of the original 1937 Think and Grow Rich. And that was about vibration. And I do believe that the powers that be, and in fact, there's been some reporting of this, whereas people, there was an original Think and Grow Rich that was on the bookshelves, like a really, 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 really small printing. It was like a pre-printing of Think and Grow Rich. And they claim, I don't know if this is 100% true, but they claim that people like Henry Ford went out and collected all of the original printing books because they did not want the common man or woman to understand this whole concept of vibration. So vibration is this. Imagine going to church and everybody just feels really good and you're singing your hymns and you're just really feeling like you're floating on cloud nine, or you're in love with somebody and you feel like nothing in the world can ever get you down because you feel that high. That is what I mean by vibration. And so whatever you can do to increase your vibration at all times is what he talked about in the second chapter that was stripped out of the book. And I do believe it was based on the elite and the powers that be that did not want average people to know about it, because they felt threatened in that if people understood this vibration secret, then more people would become multimillionaires, and that would mean that they would lose all of their workers. They would lose all the people in their manufacturing plants. They would lose all the people that would manage their businesses, their bookkeepers, everybody. They literally thought that, not realizing that most people are just lazy anyway. But you could literally put the secret of life on the front page of the New York Times and most people won't even get it, or most people won't even use it. But they were really threatened back then because they truly thought a book like Think and Grow Rich could turn all of their workers against them. and make them wealthy, and then they would lose their entire workforce virtually overnight. So that's why they were very threatened by works like Think and Grow Rich. So when they did pull all of these books off the shelves, you know, when I had read some of the, like for example, if you take a look at this, this is actually one of the original pages from this Hand of Destiny book that Napoleon Hill was attempting to write that was actually never published. And so when I had actually gotten to 2 lost chapters in Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, I had the same type of writing and the same type of crossouts in the pages that I saw too. And I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that he was forced to water down Think and Grow Rich to be able to actually publish it on a mass scale. Because if you actually read this book, if you read it cover to cover, in the very beginning, in the introduction, he promises to share with you the secret, right? But when you read the whole book, it's like there's watered down things, there's like disjointed paragraphs and subjects, and it's almost as if there was a lot of things removed from the book during and in the middle of a lot of the different chapters, and you're like, this doesn't even make any sense. Like there should be another paragraph. It's like, or there should be another sentence to bridge these together, and they're just missing. And so when I finally read the 2 lost chapters, I was like, oh, this is what the secret was that he talked about and promised in the introduction of his actual original Think and Grow Rich. And so the secret is actually in the final chapter, which was never published in the mainstream version of Think and Grow Rich, which talks all about vibration. In fact, Bob Proctor, one of the most well-known forward-thinking pioneers of manifestation, when he actually read the 2 lost chapters, he had made a note of how amazing it was and how he always wondered all those years, because he claimed he read Think and Grow Rich every day. He always wondered why Napoleon Hill didn't talk about vibration. It's like, well, he actually did talk about vibration. They just stripped it out because they didn't want people to know that that's the one key secret, the literal one key secret that you need to know to get what you want is to raise your vibrational energy. No matter what you have to do, watch comedy shows, laugh all the time, think about jokes, whatever it is that you can do to elevate your being into that higher level of vibrational thinking and feeling, that's the most important part, the feeling part, is what will get you what you want in life. Okay, and even if you don't know today what that is, you'll start to get these kick-ass, awesome, million-dollar ideas that'll just come to you. You might be taking a shower, or singing in the shower, or whistling in the shower, and all of a sudden, because of your high vibrational being, you'll get this kick-ass idea, and you'll be like, oh wow, that's like a multi-million-dollar idea. Let's do something with that. You know what I mean? So that's how it works. And so the only way that you're going to ever tap into that is to start pushing aside all these negative thoughts all day and all night that you have about yourself and how things are not working, and start focusing on what is working, what is awesome about your life, what are the things you're truly grateful for, and how can you bring up that vibrational energy level and keep it up there all the time. Now, nobody's perfect. Nobody's going to be able to keep it up there 24/7, but you can keep it up there as often as you possibly can if you do truly want to manifest the things that you want, and then start focusing in on the things you want to manifest. $1 million, you know, new job, new car, new business. What is it that you want to manifest? And those things will start to manifest if you can keep that energy level up there. So if you want a copy of my book, it is available on Amazon. It's called The Lost Secret, or you can actually get a free copy. You just have to pay shipping and handling. I do have the information down below in the description box where you can actually look at the actual 2 lost chapters. In fact, this is the only place in the entire world where the 2 lost chapters in Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich actually exists, is in this book. And I was very lucky to be able to find those. In fact, in the book, I actually share with you the story on exactly who sent me those 2 lost chapters and where I found them. But let's talk about the Hand of Destiny. This is an amazing piece of work because it truly was a Napoleon Hill book that was never ever published. And what's cool about this $1,000 book is that he actually shows, Russell Brunson, when he published this, actual pages of the book when Napoleon Hill was working on it and how he was going through the process of editing his book. And you get to see like all the little edit marks, all the little scribbles out, all the little words and corrections that he put in, because back in the old days they didn't have like computers. So this is how you wrote a book, is you typed it on a computer And then you edited it, and you typed it out again, and you edit it, and type it again, and edit it. So this is an amazing, amazing book. And so one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about is probably my most, I guess you could say my most favorite Napoleon Hill strategy in the actual original Think and Grow Rich is, aside from the vibrational thing, which is not in the book, but it is about having the positive mental attitude, to whereas you have to start having that Pollyanna view of exactly what you want in life. And that could mean some positive affirmations, whereas you start to turn the tables on the negativity that you constantly feed yourself. Like you might be telling yourself, oh, that's not possible, or I'm broke, or I'm this or that. Instead of telling yourself that kind of stuff, tell yourself, everything's working out for me. I prosper at every turn. There's opportunity coming my way all the time. Start telling yourself these types of things, even if you don't believe it's true, because eventually your mind will start to be brainwashed. You can literally brainwash your own mind, believe it or not, into thinking these other things. And then eventually your body and these opportunities will start flooding in for you, kind of by default, kind of like a vacuum sucking them all in. You have more control over your mind and your brain than you think. And that's one of the things that I did learn about from Napoleon Hill in the original Think and Grow Rich that I read years ago, and many, many times since then, is that you have more control over the negativity and over your positive mental attitude more than you think. And it's just a matter of flipping the switch. So turn off the news, stop watching negative stuff, stop watching things that are sad, and start to listen to inspirational things. Start to read inspirational books. Like one of my favorite authors is Stuart Wilde. He writes some amazing inspirational books, at least he did when he was alive. Same with Dr. Wayne Dyer. He also writes some amazing inspirational work as well. And there's many, many others. Just start reading that 15 minutes before you go to bed. Like turn off the news, turn off 48 Hours or all these other negative, really low vibe shows. And for 15 minutes every night, either listen to some kind of positive affirmation CD, like that's back in the day we used to have CDs, or, get one of those apps on your phone to have positive affirmations that you can listen to 15 minutes before you go to bed, or read books like this. Read Napoleon Hill's book, or read something like this, or read something by Dr. Wayne Dyer, or by Stuart Wilde, or by Rhonda Byrne, or one of the many other positive people, Esther Hicks. There's a lot of different inspirational books out there that you can read, and if you do it for 15 minutes every night, and then as you're going to bed, you start to visualize the things that you really want to start happening in your life, then things will start to change, and it'll start to change faster than you think. Just try it. Just try it for 7 days. And try the 15 minutes per night. Try visualizing, what you want before you go to bed. Try meditating 5 minutes a day in the morning. Try it for 5 days. Shut off the news. Stop feeding yourself all that negativity. And try it for 7 days and see if you don't feel better. If you don't feel better, go ahead and go back to your negative, your negative belittlement of a life, and go back to that after 7 days. But I urge you to try the 7-day secret because I think you're going to start to see things turn around. You're going to start to see some magic happen that maybe you've never seen or had in your life. So if this was useful to you, and if you want to get my free book, you have more information down in the description box below. If you found that this was useful, give me a nice thumbs up, as well as consider subscribing to my channel, because that actually does help me out a lot. This is Monica Maid signing off, and I will see you in the next video.